is a frame. You see is a frame here. I don't know if this is readable. It's 3,840 times 2160 pixels. So this is the full frame of the sensor. So it's that zoom, So I'm limited to seeing things that are kind of small, but nicely amplified. So
It's a nice picture.
yeah, it came out. I guess it's in the middle you can see two stars, so it's reasonably focused. So anyway,
It
okay,
looks like it.
now I understand. Okay, that was my dumb question, and I think
Yeah. I
I
mean, I
have an
think
answer.
the same thing happens visually, right? When you're looking at a star like Vega or Sirius or Arcturus, right? Or Antares, they look bigger to your eye. I mean, I understand your point that it's a point source at, effectively infinity,
Right.
but that luminosity does kind of bloom. I think it sort of blooms in the atmosphere.
And the optics, I guess, if it goes through a bunch of lenses, so at the end
Yeah.
you have some diffraction. And actually, kind of nice because that way, if they all be just one dot, that would be boring, right?
It would be boring.
I mean, Tom, look at your picture of M31, and even the Sea Star you can see does some of it. I mean, I don't think it's as prominent,
Well,
but
I mean, I think Alex is onto it. I mean, it's a, what do they say? In the airy disk, I mean, in the very center, if you look at it like it's a series of, if you were to look at it as a graph, you see a series of bumps, small bumps getting a little bigger. Then one tall bump, which contains about, what, 80% of the light. 20% of the starlight is in the diffraction rings themselves. If you have a bright star, those diffraction rings have more light in them. So it's going to be larger because it's covering, not hitting just one pixel, it's hitting a few pixels. I think and diffractions, you get diffraction whenever you have an edge, basically, right?
Yeah.
So, if you have a circle, you have diffraction. If you have a straight edge, you got diffraction. Anytime light hits an edge, it diffracts. So I think Alex is onto it. I never really thought about it, but I think that made sense to me.
Yeah.
And the key is the full width half maximum of all the stars in an image should be pretty much the same. And that's, so like the brighter ones, and again, it took me forever. It's like, nah, that can't be right. But, you keep bumping into it and eventually.
Yeah, it's a way to SharpCare uses that measure. One of the measures to reject frames. So I make it 7, and
I
I think
use
that
that to focus actually with Sharp Cap.
Yeah, you
I
want to,
I bring my exposure down short, like 2 seconds, crank my gain up a bit, and I play with the focus. And I'm getting updates every two. I do a little tweak every 2 seconds, and you can see it. And I play around till I get the lowest value. And then I'm usually at the sharpest focus. It's the
yeah,
kind of they actually have a focus tool in Sharp Cap, but I
yeah,
prefer to do it like this with this.
yeah. I need to do it next time. That's a good idea because I think these exposures are almost 10 seconds, and that it takes too long to focus.
Yeah, you crank that down a bit, get it closer to 1.5, 2 seconds and bring the gain up
Yeah.
and
Anyway,
you can get those values coming pretty quickly.
I'm happy with the advice you guys gave me. So now I'm just today I took the whole mount apart and trying to figure out how to make it smooth. But anyway, that's a separate story.
I think I think what Alex said about the size of the star is was a good point about the full width half maximum. But I wonder with these brightest stars, if they're saturated, if there is a little bit of blooming taking place. Gary touched on that, and blooming was like a real big thing, like 30 or 40 years ago when these things were first coming out. And basically, it has to do with the well depth of each pixel.
right,
After the well depth is full, there was always an issue early on with the electrons spilling over to the next pixels.
right. And
And
sometimes the whole column would go white.
Yeah,
right, and
that was more of a
software was
CCD thing,
developed.
wasn't it though?
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. The
more of a
blooming,
CCD, more of a CCD versus a CMOS thing,
right.
wasn't it?
Anti-blooming
Yeah, I
gate
guess.
versus
But
non-anti-blooming gate.
But it could be a similar thing too. I mean, I think this might be a couple things contributing to this.
right, right. Yeah, software was developed to anti-blooming software was more or less incorporated into the later cameras, but that was a big problem. And I'm wondering if some of this, might be taking place with the brightest stars here, which, you can't help but saturating them, the
Oh yeah,
brightest
you're
ones,
filling
when
the
you're going
wells
that
up for
deep,
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
right? And it's also, that you're talking with a relatively long effective focal length here that the ring nebula is only about 3 arc minutes in size. I mean, it's relatively small. So beautiful image.
So another question was, what are we talking about?
Yeah, really nice job, Tom. Even your
No, it's a
that
beautiful image.
dumbbell, the dumbbell that you posted really came out good.
Yeah, that one had some interesting artifacts. During the 150 minutes I took it, the image shifted because of tracking, just an open loop, by 400 pixels.
Hmm.
Sharp cap just kept up with it, except the edge started getting different because it was it wasn't overlapping completely, but the image was shifting, the object was shifting, but it kept stacking it on top of each other.
What you can do, Tom. SharpCap has a feature that you can turn on under settings that says to recenter the image if it drifts more than X pixels. So you can check it and put number of pixels in. So I have mine set at like 20 pixels. So when you do that, those little edges around the side get real tiny because it's only like 20
Oh,
pixels wide. So it'll just stop imaging, recenter it, and then start again.
cool. I didn't know
Because
that.
I
Yeah.
don't guide, so I use that. I use I use
Yeah.
SharpCat to dither, and I use it to keep recentering the object if it drifts too much.
Okay, now I just remember what was my next question real quickly. Would binning have helped? I talked to Bill about it a little bit at the start part last time, and I couldn't quite understand what it does. But there is an option that, of course, I can't do that after the fact when I play it back offline. But during capturing, would that have helped with at this high focal length or not?
It could possibly help with improve your signal to noise ratio if you did it at capture. But if you do it after capture, it'll have the same effect. I don't know if it's identical, but it's very similar.
I didn't.
I shoot when I'm shooting long focal length with a small pixel camera, like a lot of the modern cameras are, 2.9 or 3.76 micron pixels or, numbers like that. Um, I've been during processing and I ran an experiment about a month ago. I did the same exact processing, one with just the raw data. It was oversampled. It was a half a arc second per pixel. And then I binned it 2 by 2. So roughly like 1 arc second, 1.02 arc seconds per pixel. And I did the same processing on each. And the binned data came out better. It was much cleaner looking, much lower noise floor.
Yeah, I don't see that option in Shark app offline. So it's for next time. I don't want to hog the whole thing there.
Yeah, you can do it. You can do it in post processing. You can bin before you process your image.
For some
Even
reason,
in the linear state, you can just kind of take it in and then bin it 2 by 2.
I tried reading into serial, but it was always coming out black and white. The only thing I could get color back was through SharpCap. So I don't know what format the thing is storing it. It's like PNG, and anyway, I'll think about something. I don't want to hog this whole conversation. So anyway, thank you for your help. Good.
You have a
All right.
lot of detail in there, got the central star and you've got that other one star in there. I'm not sure that binning it would help that,
Yeah, it was just a question. So
saying.
yeah, it looks like there is some kind of a little galaxy hanging around there.
Yeah, you got a couple of them actually.
Oh, really? Where is the other one?
You're saving this as a PNG or as a FITS file?
One is, you mean like the individual files?
Yeah.
I just said save as, no, save. See, I don't know.
Okay, because up in the
Save.
right it says frame 00189.png. Because if it was a FITS, I think you can go back and bin them after the fact. I don't see why not. If you've got
Yeah,
every individual pixel saved in a file somewhere, you should be able to resample those.
I think this is what I think I left it as a PNG, and
Right.
I should have chosen fits
Well,
next time.
it depends on what your workflow is.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't
But
know.
so far I'm staying within sharp cap. So anyway, I'm pretty happy with my first image of this, with the setup. So anyway, Tuesday night was the best night. All the other nights where I was just frustrated, I was about to pack up, but then it cleared
Yeah.
up. Stuff stuff
Some,
started working.
sometimes the cameras themselves, most cameras allow you to bin in the camera too. They have hardware binning rather
Oh,
than doing like software binning after the fact. So are you using the 585 for this, Tom?
yes.
Yeah, I think that has a binning mode. I think that has hardware binning in it. So I think you can set that. There may be a way to set that through SharpCap in the camera.
Yeah, Sharp had that in here, and the option is missing for offline playback. So I didn't know why that is the case, but yeah. So when next time I capture, I can try to compare.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, excellent. Stop sharing.
So it looks like do we have a new member today? Who is Karthik? I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Devarajan?
No,
Is this your first time joining us?
no, no.
Oh, no, no, no. Now I see your face.
I've
Sorry.
been,
Sorry about that.
yeah, I've been here before.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just missed a month or two
Yeah,
in the
I
middle,
get to
so
do
the summer, yeah.
I have to be more vigilant at taking screenshots periodically so I can try to determine who might be new and who might not. But as soon as I saw your face, I recognized you.
Okay.
Well, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool.
Hey Joe, the I saw you posted an image of the Comet 10P temple or however you say it.
Yes,
Is that in the ASI Air catalog?
yes, it is.
Okay,
Yeah, it is.
that's pretty high, right? That's
Well, it's in Capricornus, and
oh, that's
it's
right. Yeah.
early in the morning. I captured that like between 2 and 4, I think AM, and it doesn't rise. I think from Texas it rises to like 30 degrees, something like that, maybe 40. Um, so I shot 100 times 2 minutes frames at a gain of like 101, and I used 50 of the frames to capture that. But it's fairly bright, it's seventh magnitude,
Yeah.
and it's a shame the weather is such the way it is, but I did have an opportunity. It's been so cloudy down there and rainy. They're in such a terrible El Nino, but as you know, Brett, but there were 3 nights in a row where it was fairly clear, and I was able to capture it. Nice comet, really bright bright green color, and yeah, really really decent. It's a shame we can't get clear weather here. It just seems like it's one thing after another.
Yeah, I
But
think the next 3 nights are the next 2 nights at least are supposed to be clear. Thursday
yeah,
and Friday night, I think.
yeah, it's a bright comet.
And the
Mm,
moon sets around, I think tomorrow night the moon sets around 1:20 or something like that, maybe around
right,
1.
right.
So
Yeah, that's perfect.
and this comet that comet comes up right after that. It's at
Right,
its kind of crossing the meridian at
right.
around
Yeah,
two or something or somewhere around
yeah.
there.
That's exactly right, Garrett. That's
Would C
exactly right.
Star would C Star be able to get it?
Yes,
I think so.
yes.
Can you select it somehow in the software, or how do you find it?
I think so. I think I went
I
up to
think
Cherry
it's in
Springs.
there. I think it's in the
I think it showed
database. You
up.
had comments. I think you'll see it.
There's a comment section or something?
Yeah, there's a comment thing on. I tried to get it back in the end of June when it was about 10th magnitude, and it was close to the Saturn Nebula and like M71, I guess it was. And but it was sort of hazy here, and I got nothing. from here, which I was a little surprised at. But it wasn't a great night by any means. It's I'm very bright here, but when it's hazy, it's really bad. So, but I didn't have any success there with that. I didn't get the Saturn Nebula either. I mean, I think I might have gotten that, but it was a really tiny, just a little tiny blue dot. So that didn't even have any size to it. So I was only getting the very middle. So I really had no chance for the comet because it was duller. It was a couple of
Yeah,
magnitudes fainter.
that was on my calendar too, and it was terrible that night. I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah,
So,
cool. Let me,
What ZW should invent is some kind of a lens you can stick on top of the lens of the existing one. Just change the focal length so you can have, short and long instead of having a whole new telescope. Would that- would they do that? Just screw it on and you have a long focal point telescope, and then take it off. You got a wide scope.
DWO wants to sell you another scope, Tom.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
exactly. Exactly.
Well, I don't know.
Cool.
Well, there is one in a way. I have an Ascar V. I got basically six telescopes in one.
You can change the optics like
Yeah.
that. No?
Yeah, you can change the front end from 60 millimeters to 80, and then you have the three rear sections. One's a uh, focal reducer, then there's a flat field, and then there's a tele-extender for higher magnification. So you just swap them around depending on what kind of a field of view you want. And I'm itching tomorrow night with the weather, actually, the next couple of nights. I just got delivery of a new camera yesterday. And Gary, I got to talk to you about it because you use the same one, 2600.
Oh yeah, yeah. A bunch of us use yeah.
And I'm graduating from the 533. So that'll be my new toy from now on, I guess.
Yeah, that's a nice camera. Yeah.
Any tips or tricks? I'm used to using the 533. The pixel size is the same. It's just, bigger sensor and so on. Tomorrow night, I want to try and do the entire Veil Nebula all in one frame. So I'm going to go with like 385 millimeters on my Ascar V.
You should put the 533 as
Yeah, you
advertised.
might get you'll get most of it. I don't know if you'll get the whole thing. Can you go any lower
Yeah, I can go down
in
to
terms of focal length?
I can go to 270.
Yeah, that would get you the whole thing.
I did Telescopius earlier today, and if I rotate it slightly, maybe about 25 degrees, the whole thing fits in with the 385 focal length.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you might be able to squeeze it in. But yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's any real tricks to it. It's essentially the same as your 533. They do have a anti-dew heater in the 2600 that is not in the 533.
All right.
So
Well, I'm using.
if it's a really humid night, it probably doesn't hurt to turn that on. I usually turn it on when it's really dewy. It stops the glass window, the the IR cut, the UV
Right.
IR cut window from possibly fogging
All
from
right.
the
Now,
cooler.
my next question is: you and I both use ASI Air. I have a Pro Plus, and I have a Plus. Does that dew heater show up in that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look at the camera settings, it'll show up as a anti-dew heater. And you can even default it to turn on the cooler, turn on the dew heater when you turn on the camera.
Okay.
There's a default, there's that advanced settings, there's a default for that too.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
that works well.
Yeah, I just didn't know where to look for it.
Yeah, I only had a problem with it once, but it was kind of nasty. I was up at the Big Dipper Lodge and I actually imaged that night, but when I shut down, I went to bed, I had it set to automatically shut down, and I shut off the camera and as part of that sequence. And what happened was it was a super dewy night, and dew formed inside the camera housing, even with the little desiccant tablets in it. And it actually dripped onto the sensor. And then it wound up running down the sensor. So the next night I went to do flats. I wasn't even going to do them because I already had a set of flats, but I thought, oh, let me just take a set of flats because I haven't done it in a while. And I noticed this like drip mark in the flats. So I was able to salvage the data. Fortunately, I took those flats because I was able to salvage the data, or else I would have lost like 7 hours worth of data because I didn't notice it till the next day when I actually did the flats. And from now on, when I shut down the system at night, I leave the dew heater and the camera on.
Okay.
And then in the morning I shut it down because usually in the morning it warms up and there's less condensation obviously once the sun's out. So I kind of got caught with that. I had to open up the camera. I bought a little kit to clean the sensor and stuff like that. So I had the cleaning solution and these swabs. They're like these synthetic fabric swabs that are the exact size of the sensor. So you put a drop or two of this cleaning solution on the swab and you just pull it across the sensor once and you throw it away and then you get another one and kind of do it the other way and then keep your fingers crossed and hope you're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is,
You
I
can,
take the camera off
you
the side. Leave the
you
scope.
can have the air just turn off at a certain time too.
Well, yeah, but then that winds up shutting off the camera. And
Well,
then,
no, what I'm
and then
saying
when
is you
when the camera shut off, that's when the condensation happened.
uh,
Yeah. And it only happened once. It was a wet night. I mean, Cherry Springs gets very wet, as people know. And it was in the fall. It was in September, I think, something like that. So it only happened once, and that's not like I hear it as a common problem, but the fact that it happened to me, and there's an easy way to avoid it. That's my personal approach. I actually leave the camera on with the heater on. If it was a dry night or if it's in the middle of summer, I don't think you have to worry about it.
Yeah. As far as the gain, the 533, the sweet spot's 100 gain on it. I'm assuming it's the same with the 26.
It is, yeah. It's 100 is the unity gain point. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's
Yeah.
let's jump into. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brett.
Do we have time for something real quick? Can
Yeah.
I share my screen? Is that all
Sure.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Can you see that?
No.
It's
No, yeah.
happening. It's
Coming up though.
yeah.
There we
There
go.
it is.
yep, there we go.
This is the C-Star S30 Pro down at Starfront, and these are stacked right on the C-Star, and started getting this around the edges. Is that like do I need to do sky flats or do you have
You
any
know,
idea?
I saw that on a couple of my images with the S30 Pro up at Cherry Springs last week. Not all the images evidently, but when I shot like in Sagittarius, it was doing it for sure. But I goes around all the edges. It was more prominent on the bottom in the upper right-hand corner. You got the upper right-hand corner,
Brett,
and the left side was more than the right side. So it's pretty similar to what I was seeing.
Brett, do you use Pix Insight?
Yes, but I'm on the C-Star right now. This is the stacked image on the C-Star.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to process it through Pix, you can easily correct that through gradient, that gradient tool they have.
Yeah, I haven't done it yet, but I would tend to agree with you. I was just curious if anyone knows. I prefer it cleaned up before I bring it in. Has anybody? I mean, this isn't something that Sky like doing flats would help with, would it? Because it's like right
Yeah,
here on the edges.
That was a full moon.
6:30. Well, when was, yeah, it probably was.
Yeah, so
But,
you're probably just
but
getting light pollution. That's all it is.
okay.
Yeah, but at Cherry Springs there was no moon, and I got the same effect.
I'll
I
pull up
have
another
a
one here that
I have a next door neighbor that put up a floodlight, and it's not hitting me, but it's shooting on a building next to me, and it's reflecting off of the white side of the building. And I get that kind of stuff now.
You have
this
to go
is
paint the building black.
Yeah.
And Brett, you're talking about the lightning in the corners?
yeah, here, yeah,
Yeah.
well, you can see it all along this left edge here on this
Yeah,
one. This was,
that looks like reflection to me.
but yeah, it should, well, it could be somebody's leaving their flat panel on down there or something, because it should be dark.
Yeah.
And this is on 618. I'm guessing that's
Yeah, that's
not,
different
Well, it was
story.
pretty
Yeah.
dark at Cherry Springs when I was shooting mine. I had the same thing,
yeah.
Brett. I mean, I didn't have anybody near me. It was dark, and I had this, and
Is
Did
this
you?
equatorial?
I was in
Yeah.
Equatorial.
Yeah, this was Equatorial. I think they're 20 seconds, and this, well, the previous one. Well, let's see what this is. This is what 100 114 22nd. So
Did you look at the individual images?
not yet. It's because it's no.
I wonder if
The pain in the
since
neck
you
to
and
clean them
Tom
off.
are both having this issue and you're both having it under dark skies and dark places, I wonder if it's not just a software issue.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Have you upgraded to the latest version of the software, and did you
Yes.
notice that it happened after that?
Can't say it is on the most current version. I cannot say for sure when it started. I could go through them, and no, I have not taken the individual fits off recently, and stack them myself. Get late. Well, I haven't processed anything for a while.
Yeah,
But it's easier to just take these and process them.
I wonder if they haven't like built in gradient reversal.
Well,
Maybe that's what you're seeing.
I think have you ever done flats on your C-Star?
No,
Because I think it comes from the factory with flats. But if
Right,
you,
but-
like when I added my, the little dew shield, I wound up redoing the flats. Because
So-
I was getting some, I was getting a little bit of uneven exposure, a little bit uneven illumination, and that helped it. So I don't know if it's a factor of like if there's a dew shield versus no dew shield or something like that.
Yeah, I was going to try to do sky flats with it at some point. Just haven't gotten up at the right time to do them. And this, the roof's closed down there so much of the time. Because I can't put something over the. I'm not there,
Right, yeah, I understand.
Okay,
Right.
thanks.
Your other setup has the panel, right? The little flip panel.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, I'm
rotate.
that rig's not working, so it's but Joe and I lament about the challenges with their support.
Oh no, sorry to hear
Yeah.
that.
Sometimes I see that when it's dropping corners as it's moving along as it's shooting.
I don't know what that means exactly.
So I'm not a huge fan of the C-Star the way it tracks. It always seems to be pretty rough. And sometimes as it's tracking, it readjusts itself and then it kind of loses some of the corner frames, like some of the edges.
Oh,
And
okay.
sometimes I see that when it does that. But that's in light pollution, so I always thought it was just,
Right.
409 skies doing that for
Okay.
me.
Okay. Well, I'll,
Bill, is that only in alt as mode, or are you talking about in EQ
No,
mode also?
As mode is worse than equatorial, but in equatorial it will also dance for me, and it doesn't dance as much as an alt as, but it dances. It's not like having a guide scope where you're rock solid the whole night.
Yeah.
I'll try sky flats, and then I'll also take the fits and stack them in Pix Insight.
Yeah.
See what happens.
It looks like it's not severe. I think you'll be able to get rid of it in post.
You can get rid of it. I could get rid of it in mine.
Yeah.
But I was a little surprised to see it. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's an easy one to get rid of. It looks nice. I mean, it looks good. And honestly, that's kind of a problem I'd rather have than have like vignetting
Right.
or something else on that, you know.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good luck. Let us know what happens.
I will. I'll report back.
Cool. I'm gonna share my screen, and we'll get the regular meeting started. Okay, so you guys should see that.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so for tonight's meeting, Bill's going to be doing a presentation of the image that he took, the Star Trails image that he took when he was at Raystown Lake, I guess a couple months ago now. And then we'll talk about any recently acquired or processed image, new equipment techniques, things like that, and then you know, wrap up the meeting afterwards. So tonight, we're going to learn how to do this, and I'm excited to hear this, to hear your talk, Bill, and I'm sure others are as well. So next month, Brett is going to be talking about his trip to the Atacama Desert. So these are just a couple screen grabs I did from when Brett showed these when he first got back 2 months ago. So so these are very preliminary pictures. So don't Brett, I'm sure you're going to have some processed more processed stuff and things like that, in addition to talking about the trip itself, planning it, the logistics, and other factors. In September, we're going to have a guest speaker, Nico Carver. Brett lined this up, and Nico is going to get us an explanation of what he's going to be doing soon. So as soon as I have that, we'll update the DVAA website, the event calendar announcement, and also I'll certainly update the slide. And then as far as October, November, December, there was some talk about having trying to reach out to Agapios to have him talk, since some of the planets are close to opposition or very well positioned for him to do something. I'm not sure if I have there's some stuff going on that time frame from my perspective. So even though I'll be at the meeting, I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to have the bandwidth to arrange that. So I'm going to leave that as a question mark right now. Once I know my schedule a little bit better, I'll be able to figure that out. So it'll either be an open session, since we haven't had one of those for a while, or there would be a short topic. Wayne has still been talking about possibly doing a getting started with Cyril presentation in the November timeframe. He hasn't fully committed to that since he hasn't been using Cyril for a while, and he told me that a lot of the scripts have changed and a lot of things have changed. So he's almost going to have to sort of relearn it to put this presentation together. So we're going to leave that one kind of float too. Hopefully he'll be, hopefully he'll be able to do it. But if not, we'll either do another short presentation or have an open session. The December meeting, I mentioned last month that I will be out of town. So I'm going to need someone to just run the meeting, just someone to host the meeting. So I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work, who that's going to be. But if anyone wants to volunteer for that, I'd welcome it. If not, then I guess if John's around, he knows how to get things started and knows how to do this. He can certainly run the meeting. But I will be out of the country, actually, so I will not be available for the December date. So let me get out of that. So if anyone wants to do that, I'll reach out to John also. Like I said, he can't be on the meeting tonight. He has a visitor. He has a guest staying at his house. So, okay. So without further ado, I'm going to switch over. We're going to switch over to Bill, and he will tell us how he made that fantastic picture of the star trails.
All right. Thank you, Gary. Thank you for that introduction, and thank you for pulling this all together. 1 second, I'm just trying to learn how to use this out of a browser. So I have, hopefully, I'll be able to show you the image that I used for this Star Trails shot that you guys were looking at. I'm trying to find where that is. I've been trying to find for like the better part of an hour where I put that stupid file somewhere.
Oh, no.
But if not, I have another file ready to go. So it's not the same image, but it's the same idea, and it'll go over the same structure and everything. So let me share my screen. Let me figure out how the hell to do that. And once I get there, okay, I'm going to share it, and I'm going to go to here. All right. So, okay, that's not what I want to do. Sorry. 1 second. Is it sharing?
There you go.
Yeah, you're sharing.
Am I
It's a
sharing?
PowerPoint.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Presentation.
Yeah,
now.
on a browser, it's not as intuitive as it is in the app. So, okay, cool. So, you guys I know a lot of you guys are experimenting with star trails on the C-Star S30, which is pretty great. It's a great resource, a great tool. It's much easier to do it than it is probably in any other path you take to do star trails. But what I'm going to go over isn't the S30. I don't really have much experience with the S30. I do things, I guess, in this way, kind of the old-fashioned way, because you really don't need much to do star trails. You can probably do this with your phone if you had enough memory on your phone, you had enough space on it, and you wanted to process the files right out of the phone somehow. So this is all very doable. From an astrophotography standpoint, this is kind of like a level 1. It's not really overly advanced. You just kind of have to have an understanding of how to do traditional photography, and then you can go through that. So this guy here, you can see my screen. I have a picture where you have, the north, everything spinning around the North Star up in this direction, pretty high up in the sky. You have some light spots down here. You have a forest. You have this white stuff down here, and you have these stars shooting downward towards the ground. What you're seeing here is a composite, really. It's a composite of number of hours of shooting in cold, cold Canada. The moon was up, so you see the sky gradient, right? You can see the sky gradient downward into a bright, the moon was in there most of the frames, so you can see it goes from dark down to bright, even though the moon was probably up here when it started. Over time, it just averaged out that way. The moon created a nice light on the lake, which was frozen and it was snow covered, but it also was windy. So the light picked up the movement of the snow as it crossed there's no barriers on the lake, so the snow is being whipped around, and you could see the snow going across the lake, just being pushed along from the wind. It wasn't snowing that night; it was a clear night, almost a perfectly clear night. And then here you have the winter Milky Way, from just the fact that you've been stacking these images. You have winter Milky Way coming through, coming over this direction, and that's pretty much it, right? So when you're doing star trails, it's a little more artsy than it is, say, traditional astrophotography, where you're trying to pull out details and make stuff a little more, I guess, descriptive. Here, it's more you're kind of more looking for how do you want to frame this up? What do you want the user's eye to see? What do you want the user to think about when they see it, or the viewer, I guess in this case? How do you want that viewer to, consider this image? And you have two main pieces you're going to be looking at, and I'll get to that in a second. But first, I want to get to this Van Gogh quote that sometimes I have a terrible need of, shall I say the word, religion, and then I go out at night and paint the stars. And that's what you're doing. Star trails are incredibly fun, and you can do them almost anywhere, which is pretty cool. I have a shot down here that I'll go to, which is in Bortle 9. This is from Philadelphia. You can do star trails even in Philadelphia. They're incredibly fun to do. They're kind of once you get your settings down, they're almost laughably simplistic to take. It's just fun, and it doesn't hurt to take them because you're not really losing any. You don't have to be in truly dark skies, so you don't have to worry about losing some dark sky time when you do it. So it's just fun stuff. So, like most things, order of operations, equipment, settings, and processing. You want to, have you're going to need certain things for what I do. I need certain pieces of equipment. If you have the S30, you still need a tripod, so you're not getting away from that one, but you need the S30 too. But if you don't have an S30, if you're kind of like me who just shoots with a camera and wants to do it just by using a traditional method, you really need a camera. You need some kind of way to power your camera because your camera is going to be shooting for at least an hour, probably maybe 3 hours. Sometimes you go longer than that. It depends how long you want to go for. You need a tripod. You need for a camera, you'll need some kind of flexible head that you'll be able to angle to the angle of the sky you're looking for. This doesn't have to be exact. The main thing to do when you're angling the camera is to make sure you keep it flat with the ground. And most cameras, I know Canons do, and I assume Nikons do the same thing. They have a built-in level where if you hit the info button in the Canons a number of times, you'll be able to see red, green. Just you want to keep it level. It makes everything much easier. You want a good image, and you can balance that out with the flexible head, right? The other piece is an interferometer. The interferometer is probably the trickiest piece. You can get them anywhere. You can get Amazon ones. You can get ones from the maker of the camera. You can get ones that some cameras haven't built into it. My mirrorless R6 has an interferometer built into it, and it's a 30-second max. So it's kind of nice there. And then we have the lens, which is probably the second most priciest thing you buy, because here you don't need to have the greatest lens in the world, but you do need to have a wide angle lens. So you can go anywhere from $260 to $3,000, depending on what kind of lens you want. The lens I shoot with is a Sigma 1224 IR f2.8. It's an EF lens made for my Canon 6D, and I just have an adapter that I use for my mirrorless. But it's super fast and it's very wide and it has no vignetting, which is pretty neat for wide angle. You'll get the cheaper wide angles will have vignetting, but that's not the end of the world. You can live with vignetting, I think. Honestly, I'm not an anti-vignetter. I think for images, it creates kind of a mood to it. But that's all in the eye of the beholder, however you want to be taking your shots. My tripod I use is a Bemro Mach 3, which is something when I just searched the internet, being like, I need a light tripod that works. This one got good reviews. This Per Gear is something, again, just randomly searched the internet, and it was like an Amazon thing. I was like, all right, I'll just pick this guy up and works great. And I use a Jackery 300. You don't need to use something that big. You just need something that will be able to power your camera, which is going to be pulling. I don't know specifics on it. I should know the specifics on it, but it's not going to be pulling much over the duration of however long it is. Actually, when I use for 2 to 3 hours, I typically find the batteries will make it. 3 hours is kind of stretching it. 2 hours usually you're pretty good on that. But you never know. It depends on the camera. It depends on what you're using. Your devices. So the other piece of the puzzle is, well, you want to take star trails, right? And one of the great things is you go to Cherry Springs. That's a great spot to practice them, because Cherry Springs is probably the most boring place you can do star trails. There's no character to Cherry Springs, right? You're on a field with trees on the edge. Great time to practice it. Great time to go out and see how you want to frame it up, see what's around, see what's interesting, see, maybe having some in the foreground with the red lights moving all in front of it will make a nice little shot. You can kind of test the waters there. But when you go to frame it up, you probably want a destination that has some kind of personality, right? Star trails are ones that when you show people, everyone's going to understand well, they're going to be intrigued by star trails, right? I think one of the sad sides of being an astrophotographer is that many of us take these amazing images, spend hours upon hours upon hours, and us all here in the community look at that and marvel. And then you show, your wife or someone else, and it's just kind of like, oh, that's nice, right? Well, star trails don't have that effect. When people see it, they stop and they look at it and like, wow, that's actually really neat. So the most crucial thing is the where, right? Like, you need to find a spot that you look at it and you're like, this is going to be cool. This might be a good shot. I remember a few years back, Andrew Hitchner did a great Milky Way shot, I think at
Eaglesmere.
It was Eaglesmere?
Yeah, I think it was Eaglesmere Lake. Yeah.
Well, he did a good one also at, I forget which beach, somewhere down
Oh,
in
yeah,
Georgia.
yeah. He did that other one. Yep. Yeah, you're right.
And that, the way he lined it up with the trail going in, and you saw the Milky Way kind of centered, everything was quite amazing. You could do that in post production these days if you really want to edit it out and create the scene. There's a lot of ways you can cheat. I'm not the kind of person who does that, but if you really want to, we can get into a little more of that. We will get into a little more of that in just a second. But here, I had a great spot. I had a spot that was on a lake, and thankfully, from miracles of God, there was no major lights there aimed at me, which is a key piece to this puzzle. You can't really work if there are lights aimed at you, because you're taking shots that are going to be stacked, and it's going to oversaturate areas and whatnot. So I didn't have any lights aimed at me, and that was good news. Over here is the light dome from Huntington, Pennsylvania, and then over here is just some additional light pollution that's kind of behind this big ridge over here. This is Raystown Lake. It's a long lake. It's the biggest lake we have in the state. It's a man-made lake. It's a lake that goes down, I think, 115 feet. It goes down some absurd amount of depth, and it's a hydro dam, essentially. It's a hydro lake that fuels energy in Huntington County and some of these other areas out in central PA. So when I saw this, I was like, this is pretty good. Sky's probably a Bortle 5, 6, somewhere in that range. And, it's not bad. And you got this little light dome, a little concerned about this, but I got this water here, and I got this nice little red boating, red navigation light in the water. I think this will work pretty well. And the reds are always great, right? You can see the green over here. I think that's a boat, but red's always nice to work with because it doesn't bomb out your shots. So it's like, all right, I'm going to sit here and get this guy cranking and start building a plan. So the first thing I did, leveled out, right? Leveled out, start taking some test shots, figuring out what I should be doing, what's oversaturating, what's not oversaturating. Am I in focus? Where do I want, how much of this do I want in the shot? Stuff like that. You plan it out. Next one here. This is that shot that I had here in the beginning, right? Here's the moon. Look at that thing. That thing's blinding. I think this was shot at, 3200 ISO. But you can make it out. You can make out the Milky Way, right? Look at that. It's right there. So this guy, the moon is just bombing everything out. But this is right here, right? I didn't really care. I was going to go with it. I wanted to pull this out. I wanted this character here. I didn't know what to expect from here. So that part of experimentation is really fun. You really, you roll the dice, see what you can get. I knew this guy was going to be down, and this one's already lower in the horizon than it was before. So it wasn't a full moon. I want to say that this was it had to be a early third quarter moon. So it was late first quarter moon. That's where it was. So it was sitting here, on its way down, and we got the Milky Way here, and everything's lit up. Like I said, this stuff will be caught in the light from the moon, and I had a shot. Now I didn't know how this was going to play out. I just rolled the dice and said, "Heck with it," Let's see what goes on. See where it goes. Right here we got Pleiades, Andromeda, right? So, all right. Next up, clouds. This can make stuff exciting. For the shot that I took with this guy here, I tried my best to get this knocked out before the clouds rolled in, but the clouds came in the second half of my frames. So I did about, I want to say this one was an hour and a half of data. And the clouds just started getting thick and started running in thick. And eventually I had to cut out a whole bunch of data because I had clouds coming through. But here it adds a character, right? It adds some personality to it. Again, adds depth, curiosity. You look at it, you wonder what that is. It takes you a second to realize that that's a cloud. It kind of warms and dims down some of that light pollution and distance. So again, framing, there's a lot of ways you can go with this. And you'll notice here something that is going to be important when you go to process. You don't want that foreground in all of the images. And I'll get to that in a second. So shooting. When I go to shoot these, I try not to push too hard if the conditions are bad. But if the conditions are good, just let it loose and let it go. So really what I'm doing is 30-second exposures, what I'm doing. Always doing 30 seconds. I never really go beyond the 30-second. There's no need to, honestly. At 30-second for my focal length on that camera, it gets a nice little slug. And then it slowly builds up when you stack them. You get all these slugs joining together. The f-stop, I tend to do the lowest f-stop, but you don't have to. You can get away with like a lower range. So in this case, for the camera I have here, I'll start with the 2.8. When I was shooting in the city, I'd had a 5.6. So, you adjust to your conditions. You do what works, what you think is not going to get too saturated as you take these shots. Another one is, obviously I said bounce the horizon already. Memory. This is a biggie. Make sure you have enough memory. Make sure you have enough free space in your card. Don't wait till when you start shooting to check that, because you'll want to delete stuff. You'll want to move stuff around, and you might not already downloaded that. A lot of new cameras have dual bays where you can put multiple cards in, which is nice. But again, if they're full, it's not going to help you too much. So make sure you have all the memory
Bill,
you need.
Quick question. When you say memory, how much are we talking about? 2 gigs, 10 gigs, 16?
Let me check. That's a great question. Let me go here real fast and just check. Because I'm going to look at the ones I have queued up. 1 second.
Time's up.
And Sandy, part of that will depend on how you're shooting, right? If it's JPEG or RAW, stuff like
Right.
that, and a lot of times people will use both. So
Yeah, that's how mine's set up, to do RAW and JPEG.
Yeah, Sandy, I typically never do both. I just do RAW because, I'm going to look at it anyway. So there's no gain for me to have a JPEG. Still trying to get to it. Just give me a second or two.
And while Bill's looking that up, just one minor thing, Bill, on the slides with the equipment, it said interferometer instead of
Yeah,
intervalometer.
Yeah, it's just an intervalometer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so people don't get confused. It's an intervalometer, like
Yep.
intervalometer.
Yep. Yep.
Bill, while you're doing that, looking at the slide that's up there with ISO and the Bortle sky,
Yeah.
it almost seems inversely intuitive, right? Because like
Yes.
the noisier your sky, you would think you would want to dial up your ISO, right?
Yeah. So the noisier the sky, you would think in the normal. I guess, Mike. I'm thinking. I don't know if the sky is the right analogy.
Okay.
I think when you're shooting, when you're going to shoot, say, if I'm going to shoot someone or an animal at night, I want to dial up that ISO because the animal's moving or the person's moving or, the ground might be shaded or might have shadows that I can't see.
Mhm.
But if I'm shooting the sky, we may get lulled into the fact that there's a lot of contrast with lights, right? So lights, the main problem when people talk about light pollution is a street light provides contrast so you can't see what's behind the street light, right? Our eyes can't visually discern, that change, that drastic change in light. But if we look in an area where we're not getting hit with light and look up, you'll see the sky's bright. So you can tell the sky brightness, and that will guide how you're going to use ISO. So I'll get into the ISO right here, Mike.
Okay.
So Sandy, real fast, I had about 8 gigs of shooting data for that. So my
Okay.
card is 64 gig.
So you have plenty of room.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yep.
most of my cards are either 32 or 64, so
Yep.
plenty of room. Well,
Yep.
if I take off half the crap that's on it, then I don't need it.
So
Thanks.
Mike, when you're asking about the sky brightness and ISO, it's hard for us to just really be able to judge the sky brightness just from looking up.
Yeah.
We really have to be in an area where you're not getting hit with ambient light, so your eye can just sit there for a little bit and just look at it and be like, it's that's effing bright. Like it just needs to be able to see it. Like that's a bright sky. So in Bortle 8 and 9, my trick when you shoot for, say, I need to get a 30-second shot. How do I do that when the sky is cream colored? It's cream colored to the naked eye. How do I do that?
Mhm.
So I still need to be able to pull out the stars, right? So you have a conundrum. You're like, how do I need to get the shot, but I don't want to be saturated with white, and I need to be able to see the stars. So through experimentation, I just kept moving up. First I started with ISO like 2000. It's too bright. Then dropped it down 1600, too bright. Then dropped down 1000, still too bright. But that's because my f-stop was too low. It was at 2.8. So I jumped up the f-stop up to 5.6, and that seemed to be a good spot. It seemed to be just enough to darken up the skies, so that way the stars would appear and the skies themselves weren't saturating out. And you're really looking for how far can I push it before the sky saturates out. Mike, that was a great question, because that's really what you're looking at. In Bortle 5, say when I was over in Racetown Lake, 3200 was the answer. How do I do that before that light pollution bomb starts oversaturating the sky? In Bortle 2 up in Canada, I just 60. I probably could have gone like 2,000 or 200,000 on that, and it would have been fine. There's nothing up there. Well, the moon. Okay, the moon was there, so I couldn't do that. But 6,400 seemed to work for that sky. That's probably too much, honestly. In retrospect, I probably would have dimmed it down a little bit, but that's what I went with. It's a matter of how you want to push it to the point where it saturates and then back up.
Yeah.
And because, again, you're going you're not going to be stacking it in a traditional sense, but you're going to be stacking it in an old school sense of stacking frames, physically stacking the frames on top of each other. And as they get stacked on there, they're just going to brighten up. So that's what I did for ISO. Yeah. Anyone else have any questions on the shooting? Yeah.
Why 30 seconds instead of 15 seconds in that case? Like if you did shorter time, wouldn't that help? I mean, you'll have more memory, but I mean, it's a balance, obviously. But I mean, isn't that one more variable?
Yeah, Scott, you could do shorter time, but I don't know if that's. I mean, it would be an extreme case. I think.
Right.
I don't know.
I understand that.
I don't know if you need to. Right.
Okay.
Like you're kind of doing twice the work.
Yeah, I mean, part of the point is you're making star trails. So if the exposure is longer and the stars streak a little, that just adds to the effect, right? That just kind of reduces the need to have as many exposures to get the stars to trail. So I think that one of the things, Scott, you want to watch out for is if you're doing really shorter exposures, you're still going to have a small gap between exposures. You're going to have a little area when the pictures stack where there is no star trail. So if you bring your exposure down, you're going to have more of those gaps for the same number of stacked image, for the same duration of stacked images. So having slightly longer exposures, like 30 seconds, reduces those little gaps between the pictures.
But those gaps would be half the size because the processing usually is quicker, so the buffering is half.
Yeah, that's a good point too. So that's what I was about to get into.
Well, I mean, if you're not doing any dark stuff or you're not doing any processing, it's still transferring one image.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, I have a really I have an old, very inexpensive DSLR. It is extremely slow in buffering. It's at least as long as the exposure. So if I shoot 30 seconds, I have a 30-second gap then. So I'm going to have even black as to the star trail.
Right.
So what I'm thinking is if I shoot 5 seconds, that brings that gap way in. I have the same situation, but I put them so close together so as not to make it obvious in the final picture.
So what Tom's saying is don't use an ancient camera.
You might have. Tom, do you have your camera set to do dark compensation?
Yeah, I think that's probably the reason why it's as long as the exposure.
Yeah, because I mean, I started with an old Canon 300D, the old Digital Rebel, which was the first one that they.
Well, that's what I'm using. Something like that.
Yeah, but that didn't do that.
I will say,
like a two
you can
second,
turn it off.
2 second, no matter what you did.
So you can turn that off. You're saying?
You might have that set up. You might
so you can turn off long exposure noise reduction. I mean, I should be able to do that in any camera.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then you're going to solve this problem. So
yeah, what is that called? I'm curious.
It's
long exposure noise reduction.
Yeah, it's noise reduction.
Noise reduction.
Okay.
But I will say, Tom, I have the T6, which is the model, the generation right after what you have. You have the T3.
Yeah.
And I do recall I turned that noise reduction off. And I think that, because when I was first starting, that's what I was doing with star trails.
It won't.
And I think it probably is the issue you may have.
Well, that's really good to know, guys.
Let's let Bill have back his presentation.
This is a problem I've been dealing with for all these things.
Well, you guys just hit on what I was about to talk about.
Okay,
So-
sorry, Bill.
No, it's all
that's
good.
great, though.
No, it's good to have
Thanks,
you back.
guys.
Yeah, like I said, you want to be balanced, you want to have a good memory, but the time delays. This is a tricky part. Every camera processes differently, and Tom, your camera probably process, even though it probably still processes pretty slow. This is an older camera. Now I don't know how slow is, but they all write the files at their speed, whatever speed they're going to write it to. So when you do these shots, you always want to turn off. There's all the noise reductions you can get. There's a whole bunch of different things on cameras, and the newer cameras are worse. The older cameras are a little simpler, where you have this kind of like dark exposure, it's called long exposure, dark exposure reduction. Turn that off. If you don't turn that off, it's going to take 30 seconds, 45 seconds per frame, because it has to do all that writing. The other thing too is you want to time it so that it's a steady interval rather than do 3 quick shots.
Oh yeah,
and
I'm
then
with you. I understand
buffer,
that. Yeah.
3 quick shots, buffer. So you need to pace out your camera. And this is something really good. If you guys ever have a chance, I do this when I went to learn this camera. I did it when I was looking at fireflies, taking firefly shots. How do I buffer? I just kind of sat there trying to figure out, what the sweet spot was to take the shot, break, takes a shot, break. What's that little delay going to be? Now, this camera, thankfully, doesn't really have to worry about that. My old one, I did. The delay could be like maybe I want a 1 second delay or 2 second delay on that, in addition to whatever it is to get the writing down. So maybe it's a 5 second delay per shot. Maybe it's 10 second delay per shot. But either way, you want to know what that delay is going to be, because you don't want to take a whole bunch of shots in sequence and then sit and wait for the camera to get caught up. Or even worse, sometimes the cameras will cut the time and just do you'll have an intervalometer and it will say, I want to do 30-second shots, but it's not timed right on the delay. And you now are taking 30, 30, 15, 30, 30, 15, 30, 30, 15, something like that, right? So that's tricky. That's something you have to work out with your camera. You just have to sit down and play with it and see how it's all going to work. And a good night, just for fireflies is a great time to do it, because no matter what, you're going to get a good shot. They're not going to know if you went short or long or any of that stuff. Yeah, on the newer cameras too, this camera has its own noise reduction in addition to long exposure noise reduction. Get rid of that. You don't need that. Don't have any of the embedded sharpening or special features that you would have. Some cameras, some people like to make their camera pre-format some things. You don't do that. You'll take care of that I take care of it in Photoshop. You'll take care of it in whatever photo editing tool you're doing. Just make sure it's in RAW, so that way you can adjust the file as you need to. All right. So again, I already spoke on this, have it wide open on the Bortle 2, and then when we get to Bortle 8 and 9, it's still wide open, but it's not as wide open. So it's getting starting to get closed up some. Okay, on the processing side, this is really where the meat of it is. I think a lot of people wonder about the processing end. So we live in a modern age where you can do a lot of stuff you couldn't do 5-6 years ago with denoise. And denoise is going to be your best friend here. I use it almost on everything. Not because I want it to look plasticky, I don't, but I feel much more comfortable shooting higher ISOs, especially daytime shots. A lot of animal shots will be, like 56,000 ISO. It will be some absurd ISO because these creatures, they're operating in, say, in areas where you have a lot of trees and whatnot. So you need a fast shot, and that's how you get that fast shot, is by bumping up the ISO. ISO isn't the bad word it used to be, and you can tell that when you guys do an astrophotography, right? Your gain, you guys can crank up the gain pretty well, and it's not really going to ruin the image, right? You have a lot of denoising ability these days. So what I'll do, my workflow is this. I take something, and I'll show you. This is a good time to show you my Photoshop side, and this isn't going to be the same image. If I can figure out how the hell to switch screens here. So this is going to be one of the newer images I took this summer down at the in-laws on their deck, or on their dock before they finished their dock. Okay, that's not their system. So this guy in here is a stacked image of all of these frames, right? The first thing I do, and hopefully this will work, computer is having a lot of work it's doing right now. So if this blows up, I apologize. Hopefully it doesn't. We'll find out in a second. But first thing I'll do is I'll go in a camera raw filter, and I'll get all of these frames, and I'll get them all in there, and I'll look at them and see. All right, I'll look at just the very high level stuff. I'm not going frame by frame and trying to adjust individual, lighting changes and shadows and highlights and colors and that stuff. Looking at some big picture stuff here. So what I'm going to do is look. I need to denoise. You just gotta. I look to see if there's any. I look at the individual frame and say, all right, is there anything in here that really is going to be problematic? Is there, say a light coming in from this side or some kind of red light over here? Keep an eye on that. It's not a big deal. Probably most of the time, it just averages out. And then, I just say, okay, I think the raw frame's good. Maybe I need to do just a little exposure change or a little bit of highlight change, maybe. But I don't play with this stuff. I just come in, do a little denoise, make sure the calibration, not the calibration, the optics, I don't know where that is these days. There should be like a little optic check to make sure that the camera is in sync with Photoshop. So that way, the frame is flattened. And then I just run them. I let it denoise. Typically, it'll denoise for a number of hours. And I don't put it up all the way. I would say like maybe just enough to make it less grainy. Because at the end of the day, if you make it too, you just want to get enough so that way some of these little dots aren't going to be stars, right? Some of these little grain dots, these are all stars in here, but some of these little grain dots in here aren't going to be stars. That's it. Just want to remove that stuff. And then I'll run it, boom, take it out. And now I have the initial make of all these frames. All these frames are in here. And I go one by one to say, hey, I'm going to, 1 second, let me just move this guy. I go one by one to stack them in here. They're in order of their file number for me. You don't have to do that. It's probably a little easier. It's easier for me if I do it in file number, but chronologically, obviously, you can tell the sky's not going this way. It's going that way. So anyone who's paying attention knows that this doesn't make sense. It should be going that way. The stars shouldn't be going that way. But anyway, that's just a little nuance in it. What I'll do is I'll take advantage of Photoshop's basic blending modes, and I'll just use lighten, and I'll layer the lighten so that way it's at say 98 or 100% start, and then by the time it gets down to the bottom, we're somewhere in 57%, and I'll keep working its way down 24%. And the closer it gets to the end of some frames in here I didn't use, closer it gets to the base frame, the lower it is. So this is at 2%. So what that does is, if we can look in here, it creates this style where you see this bright guy here, and notice how it starts trailing off. So you have more of the weight in the front, and it starts fading as it goes, and creates a view that's like, hey, this is traveling through space or whatever. So that's how I get that. Then the next thing I do is, actually, before I get to this phase where I'm stacking them, I actually go frame by frame and remove all the satellites, which, that's up to you if you want to do that. It's an exercise, and it probably is a torture method. If they want to bring it down to Guantanamo, it's a pretty good way to, to get people to answer questions. Just doing star trail removal for about 4 hours is a blast, let me tell you. And you never fully get all of them either. So those are two things I do here. Now on the enhancement side, I typically,
Hey, Bill, I
well,
have a quick question.
yep.
When you're doing the reduction in the opacity, is that automatic or is that something you're manually reducing as it goes?
I am manually playing with that. And
Okay.
the reason being, Gary, is because so you can calculate it out, right? Based on the frames, you want to calculate, how you want to bring down a percentage. But
Right.
sometimes you look at it and you're like, I have to change it. I have to do something else here, and you just have to play with it. So that takes a little bit of time. This is very much art and very less a scientific or a precision endeavor.
Okay.
So you're really trying to make something nice here. So that's what I do, Gary. I'll do for when it comes to kind of bringing out the character. I wait until the image is fully baked. Once the image is fully in here, I can't move anything in Photoshop right now. It's throwing me off a little bit. I'm still waiting for it to save down this image. But once the image is fully compiled, that's when what you can do is you can essentially roll everything up to one frame. And I'll take that one frame, and that's when I'll start looking to see how do I need to change. Now it's zooming in. Nice. Get up here. So do I need to change the highlights? Do I want to bring out some shadow, increase certain colors? Do I want to remove certain colors? How do I want to change it? I do that on the very top frame. So I don't do that on these lower frames. And then it's just lucky for me that this frame itself, like this actual image here, had a lot of natural color, which is pretty neat. So I didn't really have to worry about too much, adjustments here. This image was very easy. I just got the images, took all the pictures, denoised it, put it in here, and created tried to make sure the opacity worked. And then I did a little bit of fine tuning in a camera raw filter once I got everything kind of pulled together, right? So there wasn't too much work here. Let me just show you. This is stuff that will drive you insane. You see I missed one? Oh, no. This satellite right here. I mean, I see it.
You missed another one that was in the middle of your frame too.
Oh, you're killing me, Scott.
It's a little tiny one though. Like it's only because you zoomed in that I noticed. Like it's not really like the other, but
That is just mean.
now he's gonna be looking at it.
Yeah, so
Where's
to me
Waldo?
it drives me insane when I miss them. But the good news is these days in Photoshop or whatever tool you're using, it probably has a way to automatically kind of fill in. Before you used to have to tell it when you would do it's not, for whatever reason, it's just not playing with me right now. Before, in the days before we had this kind of machine learning AI stuff in your applications, you used to have to tell it how you want to heal. You used to have to say, okay, I want to kind of clone this area over here, and let me pull in this spot here. But now you really don't have to worry about that. It's much more intuitive. Naturally, the program is much more intuitive, whereby you just kind of highlight that start or the satellite trail, and it does a decent job at getting it cleared out. It's not perfect. It's still doing the same thing that you would do. It's just doing it I would say it's hitting the mark like 95% of the time. And then sometimes you just have to kind of adjust it and do it the old fashioned way because it misses that 5%. It's not perfect, but it's a huge help. But it is all done by hand. So the other thing, I guess, since we're talking about it, software, you don't have to do it this way. You don't have to use Photoshop. There's different programs out there. I used to be a big GIMP user. I haven't used GIMP in 6 years. I'm positive GIMP can do this. GIMP is a phenomenal program. I know that there's other programs out there that are Photoshop clones out there that are free, I think. I haven't used any of them. I'm sure you could do it there too. One of the programs that I used to use a lot was Sequator. It's like Sequater or something like that. But that program, it's hit or miss for me. Sometimes it works the way I want it to, and other times it returns stuff that I don't understand. It's a nice program. It does a good job for Milky Ways, but for star trails, it's not my favorite. So all this stuff takes up space, which is why my computer is going slow right now. Not just from the lack of, the video card being able to handle a Zoom call and Photoshop at the same time, but because this stuff is like, this is like a 23 gig image. It's gigantic. This thing is huge. You're using raw files. These DNGs are noise reduced images from out of Photoshop. So they're kind of the camera raw filtered images out of Photoshop.
Are they
So
smaller in space, Bill? Like in
they're smaller. The DNGs are smaller than the raws.
Okay.
I think. I'm pretty sure. But when you put them all in here, you have a bazillion shots. So it's yeah, it's a big guy. And then you do augmentations to it too, right? Right, Mike. You're not just putting it in here. I had all of the satellite trails I removed are calculations it has to perform every time I open this guy up. Whenever I move through here, it has to remove those every time, right? It's thinking about that. I may not see it, but it's doing that. So it's just, it's a lot of data, a lot of procedure it has to take care of in here. For Photoshop and for any Photoshop type program, the most important frame you'll have is this guy down here, this your foreground. The good news is foregrounds can be a lot easier than they used to be. I don't know how those other programs work it. In Photoshop, you can just tell it what the foreground is, or you tell it what the sky is, and it'll remove one or the other, which is really nice. It's a great feature. Before, you used to have to go with a little, magic with the magic wand and go through, and the lasso and go through here, and you'd always miss a stupid spot that was just above a tree line somewhere, and it wouldn't get all of it. And it would be, it always looked somewhat fake the whole way. But now you don't have to worry about that. It can pop out the foreground it usually discovers a foreground for you. And if not, it still is a little more intuitive and trying to figure it out. Sequitur, to its benefit, does have a great foreground freezing tool. So it pops out the foreground when it does these and just lets everything else go. The foreground doesn't move. In saying that, you'll notice that my images typically lack, well, with the exception of, let's see, with the exception of the house image. The exception of this guy, they really do lack many close trees. And that's a benefit. Trees are a pain in the ass. So for this one, this is a good one to talk about. So the trees, this is where leveraging the modern technology is really helpful, because this wouldn't have been able to be done without Photoshop knowing what the background was. You can look here. It was able to figure it out. I don't know how it was able to figure out these areas here, but it was able to figure it out, maybe based on the color and luminosity. I'm not sure, but it was able to figure that out. If you did this by hand, there's no way on God's earth you'd be able to do that. I'm not sure. I don't think Sequitur would be able to do that. So some of these programs that we've traditionally relied on, they won't be able to figure this part out either. Even though in Sequitur, what you do is you kind of tell it what the foreground is. Big holes like this, it will be confused on. It would think that should be moving with the sky. So little things like that where you have, I would stay away from trees. This was a challenge shot for me in a number of ways, and I'm glad it worked out. But honest, I was terrified of these trees here. You never know. But your base, so going back to the other image real fast, your base image, the foreground, you want to kind of think about that, right? You want to think about how you want to do the foreground. When do I want to shoot this? Typically, for your foreground, right, you're going to have your tripod mounted. Ideally, you want to have your tripod mounted, ready to go before sunset. When I did let me, again, share back on the other screen. when I did the lake shot, Racetown Lake, this guy, the tripod was already mounted before the sun went down. So I already kind of had an idea what I was doing. But what I didn't know was what this was going to look like at night. So what I did was I took a whole bunch of shots. I took, a shot at dusk, a shot at, about half an hour after dusk. I took a shot, like later in the night. And then I realized that, you know what, one of my normal frames, probably the frame I started with, or maybe the fifth or sixth frame, had this nice little glow here. And that's the one I went with. So I went with a later frame as my base. That's why this guy's all nice and dark. And then here, we just got the water is obviously like shimmering in it, but since it's dark, the water doesn't naturally pick up sharpness because the camera can't resolve the water. It's not like daytime where you have light hitting it and you have a whole bunch of different light points. You have very low amounts of light in here. So the only thing I did here is just I made it uniform. All I did was just I reduced the sharpness in areas. There are some areas where it caught, some areas where it didn't. I just made the sharpness reduced in a uniform fashion across the lake. Therefore, it looked very natural. It looked the way you would see it, right? Like if you're looking out there, this is how you would see it or how you would envision you would see it. So that's what I wanted to do. I think there was some like spots over here maybe or spots over here where it just caught, but that's it. And then it didn't do anything for these guys. This foreground was dark, didn't have to do anything for it. And there's no point pulling that out. It's already dark. If I want to have a green foreground of trees here, I need to do that when it's still light out. You don't want to be pulling it out. It's going to look grainy. It's going to look artificial. It's not going to look the color. You're not going to get the color right on it. So do that before it gets dark. So that's just a little piece in the foreground. This foreground, I had no idea what this was going to do. I just threw it up there hoping, threw up a Hail Mary and it came back like this. So you get rewarded when you take risks sometimes. And, that's what I did. This here is just kind of like, it's Kremlin. It's just like, cream on a cake. It's just like, it's amazing. It's this here adds such a nice little character to it versus, you have these distinct trees. And then we have this guy right here. This was done in Sequitur initially. And then I kind of layered some stars, some of the slides on top. And I learned all of this because when we had the aurora, I was really trying to understand what would be a good shot. And I didn't know how to take a shot of this aurora. I had no idea what I was trying to do. So I started playing around with it a whole bunch. I was like, you know what? I want to see, if I get the Milky Way. And I got the Milky Way in one of them. And I want to see if I could, what happens if I just do star trails and stack everything. Because I had the camera running nonstop that night. I was just trying to play around with the processing after I got it home. I'm not personally, I don't like this image. It's too busy. It doesn't make sense to me. It looks muddy. It shows it's pretty cool in that you get to see all of the different color changes that happen through the night. But to me, it's like, I don't know what my eye wants to look at first. This over here, looking at the spin of the sky or looking at the aurora or looking down here at the foreground. Like, I don't know. But it got me thinking about like, how can I process this in a way that makes sense? So that's how I got to this. And what I'm going to show you is there's one little piece that makes these images pop. And a typical star trail image won't do this. Well, I'm going to share my secret with you for only the small price of $29.99. So
you can find Bill's Venmo address in the chat window.
So I think this is the frame. If it lets me turn it off, we'll see if it turns off. All right. Okay. Let me zoom in. If it lets me zoom in. So give it a second. I hope. Come on. Come on. can do this.
Bill, I was under the impression that the R6 Mark II had the function such that you did not need the intervalometer.
You don't. No, I didn't have to worry about the intervalometer with this guy. But my old 6D, I did.
I'd like to talk to you later also because I've got the R6 Mark II and the RF 15 to 35.
Yeah. Yeah, we can definitely chat. All right. So this isn't working the way I was hoping it'd work. It's not doing anything here. Let me go back to the other screen. I'll show you. I'll try and show you what I do. And you can see it here a little bit. You can see it in this shot here, probably most distinctly. Here, you definitely see it. See this? These stars, right? This is a very simple little trick. It's very, and to me, it adds a nice piece to it because, again, we like being told, we like stories, right? We like hearing stories, we like telling stories, and we want pictures to be able to tell stories. And this picture to me tells a story. It shows you kind of what's going on here. Normal star trails will just show movement in the sky, but here we have the stars, right? So what I'm doing is I'm simply using there's a little tool. Again, I'm going to switch back, so just bear with me if I can figure out how to do that. There's a little tool in Photoshop that sometimes you use if you need to like correct an image or if there's something you just need to take care of in the image. It's not going to do it. Okay. And it's called magnify. Yeah, I think it's called magnify. Yeah, maximum. It's called maximum. And when you go into maximum for that one frame, what you're going to do is simply increase the radius to a believable amount. So you're just going to make it slightly bigger of a star than it normally would be. You don't want a beach ball. You just want like maybe a baseball, right? You just want to make it a little bigger. And then what that's going to do is that's going to be the finishing spot of your star trail. And that, I think, keeps it pulls the image together. It makes the image. Because now you have a point to the image. It makes it look defined and it has a little bit more of a purpose and a tail behind it. So that's what I use. That's how I do these shots. Let's see if there's anything here I might have missed. Oh yeah, here, I'll share this screen real fast. That's the artistic license I was talking about, is that little maximum in there. This is definitely a artsy shot. It's not a shot, like I said, that's, you're going to submit to observatories or anything like that. This guy here, this is like 30 gigs for the final image. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Honestly, that's where I got, I think it covered everything in here actually. So this image here, real fast, the reason this is an early version of my technique that I started putting into effect on all of my star trails. This is the first main version of it, and it was a fluke because I was using Sequitur and I was trying to figure stuff out, and then I put it into Photoshop, and it just kind of naturally put it together. So yeah, that's that.
Very nice.
Excellent. Thank you, Bill.
Very nice.
Bill, are you able to
Yeah,
bring up a single shot, like, rather than combine, like just what a single 30-second frame looks like? Or will that kill your computer?
It's not really killing the computers. Just need to find out how I put these frames.
Because I just wondering how much data is in a single shot. You stack it together. It's obviously the combination over an hour. But with it. So
Yeah. Yeah, those shots, the Racetown was about an hour and a half. The Lake House one was about 2 hours, and it was 2 hours exact. The Canadian one was about 2 hours, maybe more than 2 hours, maybe I'll just say 2 hours. I don't really know. But yeah, let me see, Scott. Let me see if I can find that folder real fast.
yeah. And when you looked it up, like how did you remove the moon in that one shot? I mean, like just all through layering
Yeah, that
and
was
masking?
yeah, but the moon isn't fully removed in it. It bombs out, right?
Right. No. I mean, it kind of more looks like a cloud instead. It's not nearly definitive as a moon
Yeah.
directly, but it's
It's
mostly just the way the masking works.
masking and, well, order of operations. It wasn't really masking. I wasn't trying to get rid of the moon. I didn't do anything to the moon. I just it was more of the order of where I put it in the frames. So this is like a real low percentage frame.
Right. So I mean, opacity, like it's just their lower opacity and everything else is stacked on top of it.
Yep.
So it just has more data on top of it to blend it out.
Yeah, and one of the additional things you can do too is for the stars, right? For the star frames, you can. There's two ways you can do this. You can, if the sky is really good, like here in Canada, you didn't have to worry. It was like World 2 sky. You can increase the highlights, which will make the stars pop more. Or what you can do, which you have to do here in Philadelphia, is get a luminosity mask and bring that up, bring the highlights up in luminosity mask, so that, or the color mask will do as well to bring that up, so that way it looks, it looks more prominent. This still is, in my eyes, still a very real shot, because this is what it's slightly more than what you would see. You would see this if you looked and stared at it for, maybe a minute, but you would have to be away from light. So it's a realistic shot. This one used it didn't take much, but just a little bit of highlighting brought up a lot of these colors and whatnot. And again, that's a factor of how good your skies are.
So this I may have missed this. On that image there, how is it that the clouds are stationary? Do you know
because it's a lower frame. So I can't recall, Brett. I wish I could recall how I put this together, but the moon, however, the moon was like. So okay, let me rephrase it. This is probably a top level frame because it's dark. So this is a more opaque frame, right? Than you would have with the moon. So this is later in the night versus the moon was up higher, during the beginning of the night. Those frames were reduced down. So this frame has more weight than the later frame, than the earlier frames. That's what you're seeing here, because this is darker, right? Much darker.
So you see you see the Milky Way.
Yeah, you see Milky Way. Yep. The moon's probably been down for, I don't know how long, maybe half an hour.
That's really a slick looking picture. I like that a lot.
All right, Scott, to answer your question, it is individual frames are, I'm waiting for the thing to pop up. 8 megs.
Wow.
That's down from like the 36 megs for the raw file. So. Yep. Any other questions or?
In your Aurora photo, is the Aurora separate from the star trails, or did the star trails go on top of the Aurora, the frame right above it?
No, this is, so the camera was shooting the whole time.
But But you didn't shoot the aurora separately and then the star trails and merge the two together. Those star trails are including the aurora.
Yeah, they're embedded
Okay.
in there. That's why it looks muddy. That's why it looks so
Yeah.
muddy down here, is because these stars were here when it was green, and like whatever
Okay.
was here, and when it was red here. This is just frame after. So what happened is very, very much a composite, like very much a image that was built upon itself. Yeah, it was all nice and dark, and then you had some red, and then you had some green. You had green and red, and then you had this guy. Then you had big red over here. Then you had some pink pop in. Then you had a different color here. And as the star trails went, it just kept layering in more aurora that was captured in each shot.
Yeah, we need it kind of if the aurora covered the star trail, so the star trail gets there in the upper half, and the aurora was it. But that's what I was wondering whether the aurora was a foreground portion or part of the whole data set.
I wish the aurora would have covered the whole thing.
Well, you could always just put in PixInsight, do a star removal, create a mask, and get more creative.
Yeah, nowadays you can do that.
So
I didn't
this is
even think about that.
This is the aurora over your 1 hour or so of exposure, right?
This guy was probably
2 hours, 1 hour.
two.
So what's
Yeah.
really cool is the green stayed green and the red stayed red. It's not like they moved around and you just
Yeah.
got brown across the whole frame. That's kind of cool. I mean, I didn't know Aurora did that.
Yeah, and initially,
And then
early
white
on-
is probably where you did get all the colors mixing together.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. I didn't think about that.
That is really cool. That's like it's like a long exposure Aurora shot.
That's exactly what it is.
That is really cool. I wouldn't have predicted that. That's cool.
So what happened early in the night was red, and then the green was was consistent, but it was like it kept going for a couple hours. Right, green was there, but early in the night was red, all over the place. So that's just to give you a little time frame on that, how it rolled out.
That's really cool.
Was that in Canada?
No, that was in Ricketts Glen.
Oh.
So one of the more annoying things is somewhere over here is a water tower that's lit up. And you can't see it from here, but you can kind of, there's like some distortion. Maybe this is it. Some distortion over here from a stupid water tower.
Bill, do you ever do anything with like foreground painting or anything like that? Or just whatever the natural scene is, you leave that be the natural scene?
I leave it be the natural scene. This guy, I tried to clean up some here because I had to clean up some of it because I had people with flashlights that were aiming at me, and it was kind of bombing out this area. But I never really touched the foreground.
Gary, you're asking more about light painting, aren't you? About like adding light as the shot's being taken?
Yeah, like if you're in a super dark location, you have a real close foreground object, you would shine a light on it from the side, to give it some drama, stuff like that.
I guess, I mean, something like that, you have to be it would probably depend on your location, right? I've never been in a spot where I've had, it's probably easier to do with rocks because they're not going to move in the wind, like
right,
they're not going to move or do anything. So I'm sure it's good for rocks. But this guy, I think, is a pretty good foreground light. The problem tends to be is depending on how you're going to do those lighting. I don't know if you've done it, Gary. This was again, there's some stacking here that wasn't intended, which makes everything kind of layer upon itself. But I don't know. I don't know if I would. I like the natural. Like, to me, the contrast and the darkness is the selling point, and the sky is kind of the show.
Right. Well, like the red, like in that picture there, the red buoy, that marker gives it a lot of, to me, visual interest because it's kind of like it's lit up. It's not, like glowing or anything, but it's prominent. So you get that red highlight
Right.
from the marker.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yep. Yeah, I
Okay.
don't know. I haven't tried it mainly because I don't have anything that lights anything up. I don't have any.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a random light I could put somewhere where it would just do it.
Yeah,
You
I
could do
mean,
it with a headlamp.
even just the headlight, even just your headlight. Like on that
Yeah.
one with the dock, that's at the
Yeah.
unfinished dock at your in-laws. Like the right-hand side is picking up light
Yep.
somewhere. The left-hand side is darker. Like that left-hand side, if that were painted to look more like the right, what would that do visually? And stuff like that. I'm just asking if you tend to play with those kind of things too. Or
No,
just leave
it's a
it to
good idea.
natural
I haven't
shooting.
done it. Yeah.
Okay.
I think you also have to have
This
a
one I didn't know
foreground
about
close
this.
enough.
I want to, like, I didn't know that this was going to do this.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, obviously some of it you can do in post by
And
masking that and then bringing up the left side, but then you have to watch the grain and all that if it gets too grainy because it's underexposed.
Yeah, I mean, Gary, even like this image here, this was the most amazing mistake. I had no idea I was going to frame up perfectly with the north.
I remember
no
asking
idea.
you at the meeting, and you said I figured you composed it that way, but you said it was just kind of serendipity.
Yeah, I knew that the north was there, but I didn't know it was right perfectly between them.
That's wild.
So, but again, it's more reason just to give it a shot. When you bring your camera, you can do it. This is not bright skies, but it's not dark skies either. It's like Bordeaux 6 plus maybe. You can do this stuff at Green Lane. You can practice it at Green Lane. You can give it a shot at home. See if you can, get some, at least test the waters. Just see how far you can do. Remember the ISO. You just want to bring the camera up to right before it washes out, and then roll back, and then start letting it go.
That's great. Thanks you so much for the presentation and for the tips, Bill.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah,
I like
thanks.
I like the
Bill.
trick with the opacity to get the
Yeah.
star trails to taper. It's a cool trick.
They look like little comets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very, very nice, Bill.
Yeah, good
Thanks,
job.
Bill.
Yeah, good job.
thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
So you mentioned some tools, right, earlier. Have you used star stacks?
No, I haven't used Star Stacks. I've only
But
used.
you're familiar with that, right?
Nope, I'm not
No?
at all familiar with it.
No? Okay, so it's star stacks, STAX.
Yep.
That actually, so the thing with that is you have to process your raw images and then export them as TIFF or JPEG or whatever. And that takes only JPEG or TIFF files. It doesn't process raw files. So that's one of the issues. But you can process them beforehand. And then you can do the stacking to get the star trails. And you can do the various features. One of them is the comet mode. And you choose the comet mode. It's going to look just like the way you showed it.
No, they stole my idea.
Uh, and it can do it both ways. So it can do it the way, you expect to see the rotation and the opposite. So it can do both. And it can do a bunch of other things too, relatively easily. So that's
What
a
is it
very.
called again?
It's called Star Stacks, Star
Star Stacks.
STAX, single word. Just Google that. It's a free. It's a free tool. I think it's available for both Windows.
Yeah, maybe someone can try it and see how it works. That'd be a neat little test.
Yeah, I've used that a lot
Yeah.
for
Do you
my
have some
star
images?
trails. I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why don't you share them?
Sure. Give me a second.
I just put the link in the for star stacks in the chat window.
If I can show maybe a couple of pictures.
Yeah, that'd be great.
let's see if I can share my screen. How do I share my screen?
And Bill, in the chat window, there's a message from Richard with his phone number about giving him a call with the camera.
Oh, okay. I
DR
don't see it.
6 Mark II.
Yeah, I don't see it in chat.
I don't see it either.
It went
They
to
see-
went to the host.
Did it go to you? Well, it couldn't go to you. It would go to both of us. Yeah, I don't see it. Maybe you can just
I'm not
message
sure.
me. Maybe you can just message it over.
I'll
You
put it
see
in.
it?
I'll put it in the. Is that Richard? Is it okay if I put it in the actual
Yeah, that's fine. That's
just
fine.
the chat? Okay.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. I like. So this is done with the Aurora too.
Yeah, so this is an image I took 2 years ago, actually on the day of the Perseids. And so we were on vacation, and I had set up to do star trails. And the first shot, I saw these pink hues. And then I called my wife and said, "Can you check if there's an aurora alert?" And sure enough, there was an aurora alert that night.
That's wild.
Completely by chance. So I set it up, uh, you know, to take several hundred images for the next 4 or 5 hours, maybe. I don't remember. You can see that streak right there. It's one of the, the meteor streaks. And there was some stray light on this side I couldn't get rid of. So yeah, so I mean, I
think
took
that-
about 400 or 500 images. This
Yeah,
is all
to-
done in star stacks. Yes.
To Gary's point, the light on the trees kind of adds to it. I think.
I think it otherwise it would have been silhouetted.
Yeah.
We were staying at an Airbnb. I actually tried calling the owner to try to turn that light off, but there was no response from him.
That's great.
I think in a way, like you said, it sort of adds some, an interesting element to the image. So that's how this happened. And so the trails, you can see that there's sort of like a comet mode. You can see it's thick on one side and it tapers on the other side. So it was processed like that using star stacks, and I superimposed that one image with that meteors, on top of that to get that Perseids. Yeah, so just by chance.
That's great. That's
Yeah,
great. That came
yeah.
out really good.
Good stuff.
Let's see if
Yeah, I love the pink in there.
Yeah, the pink is pretty neat. So let's see. Can you see this one, this image? For some reason, I can't. Okay, let's see. So this is the same night. This is towards the morning. Now this one is not processed to look like.
Is this the same shot?
It's the same. So what I did was I took. I had set it up to take several hundred images, and then in the middle of the night, I woke up, went back to check, and then I restarted, and this went on until.
I don't think it
the
changed
morning.
the image. I think it's the same original image that you showed.
Oh, you can't see it.
We're looking at the Aurora Star Trails,
Yeah, I do
Perseid,
know
Crescent
that's
Lake
the same.
Small.
Yeah.
Do you see a bluish thing here? No.
No.
It's still the original one, I think. The first
He
one.
may
you
have
showed.
he may have just shared his one window instead of a screen. Yeah.
You
How
can
do
share
I
your whole
share?
desktop and then drop an image into that, or share the individual images.
Oh, I can drop an image. That might be easier. Drop an image into what? The Zoom screen? Can you see it now?
No.
No.
Try unsharing and resharing on that.
Okay.
Sometimes it does it.
Oh, I think I know what's happening. Okay. You should be able to see it now. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, so if you stop sharing,
Yeah, let me stop.
Well, while you're on this shot, you know what's really cool about this? That shows that Polaris is not the North Celestial Pole. It's off a
Yeah.
little tiny bit.
yeah.
That
It's
was
off
cool.
by a little
I-
tiny bit. You're right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because
That's
it's
true.
off like what, 3/4 of a something.
The
Right,
Sea
right.
Star does it when it does the star trails. You can pick that up too.
Yeah, it's not exactly centered. Messing with your polar alignment.
So this is the second image. Same
Hmm.
night, but
Yeah.
towards the morning.
Yep. Yep.
Still have
Close to
some pink.
dawn. Yeah, you can still see the pink.
That's pretty cool. I like
Yeah,
that
there
a
are
lot.
other images where on the left side, I saw a lot of bluish, sort of like aquamarine color, very intense, moving around quite a bit.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting. So the thing is, what I should tell you is, so all of this, both images, and I have a number of other images. This was Bortle 2. So this was close to Crater Lake, about an hour from Crater Lake in Oregon. It's a place called Crescent Lake, and it's Bortle 2 skies. We couldn't really see it visually, the aurora. This is all captured only on camera, amazingly. So, like I said, the first image that I got with those the magenta, I couldn't see it. Just the camera picked it up. Just fascinating.
Now, in this image, to my eye at least, all the arcs are the same intensity.
Yes, that is correct.
Whereas
So
in the
this was
earlier one, they
processed.
tapered off.
That is correct. So yes, so the previous one was processed to look like comets, and this one was processed using the usual method. So they do look like proper star trails. So both were done using star stacks. So it initially processed. So I'm a Nikon user, so I usually use Nikon NX, the studio, to do the processing. I'm not really a Photoshop user. So I do the processing there, and then I export them as either TIFF or JPEG, and then I do the stacking in star stacks. It's a pretty easy to use tool, and it's reasonably fast. You can do like 400 or 500 images stacking in less than 5 minutes for sure.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a free tool, so
Oh, it's good. I like this. I like this one a little better, I think, because of the blue.
And the trees
The
are
trees have
less.
a better
The
natural.
color balance a little
Trees are
better.
they look
yeah.
more natural. Yeah,
Well, you said the sun was coming up, so the camera probably stopped down a little bit.
yeah, yeah. I have other images that are completely, blown out and unusable. So I had to stop at a certain point. So, but I had enough images to put
Very
together a
cool.
stack like this. Yeah.
That's great.
So
Thanks for sharing
are
with
there
us.
any Nikon users here? Any Nikon users?
It's crickets.
I
Yeah.
don't think most people use a digital camera anymore.
No. So you're talking about intervalometers, right? The Nikon intervalometer has a certain quirk. So what it does is when you do these trails and you take a sequence, and this is true with pretty much any of the Nikon cameras, the modern cameras. So they're okay for maybe 10, 12 images. And then there's a buffering problem. I don't know if it's a buffering problem, it's an intervalometer problem. There's a gap. So if you look at the trails, you can see that, you see gaps here, but these gaps are different. So every curve is going to have a gap after about a dozen images, approximately. So, and at some point they start looking awkward. But if you use an external intervalometer and use 1 second between shots, you get rid of that problem. But you have to have an external intervalometer. So that's why I don't know if Canon has a similar problem.
You don't have a delay built into the Nikon?
Do I have a what?
There's no delay built into the Nikon between shots?
So you can set, so yes, you can, so even if you set it to 1 second,
Any interval you have?
you still have this problem. So I've tried varying the gap between shots from anywhere from 1 second to maybe 3 or 4 seconds. Of course, the longer the gap, you're going to start seeing gaps in the picture. But even with the 1 second, you have this problem. So it's not the gap between the shots. It's like I said, every dozen shots or so, you're going to see a gap, and then it's going to be fine again for the next 12 shots, roughly. And then you zoom in a little bit. I mean, if you zoom in enough, you're going to see gaps anyway with any image. But that one would look sort of obvious, even in a size like this. But when you use an external intervalometer and set it to 1 second, you don't see that problem. It just goes away. And I don't know if I know that it's a Nikon intervalometer problem. I've done enough research to find that out, but I'm not sure if Canon or anyone else has similar problems.
I've had some weird idiosyncrasies with Canon using an intervalometer if I'm using it in conjunction with the camera's timer. So for instance, on the Canon cameras, they can go up to about, the older ones were 16 seconds. For some reason, it was 16 seconds. Newer ones were like 30 seconds of a built-in time exposure. So if I would set it up such that I was using an external intervalometer to trigger, like let's say I had the camera set to 15 seconds.
Right.
And then I was using an external intervalometer set to like 18 seconds. It would create sort of a beat frequency like you're talking about. Every once in a while, it would kind of skip a frame, or it would sort of try to do it in the middle. The only way with that setup, the only way I was able to reliably predict the behavior for doing something like star trails was to set it to bulb mode, and then set the camera to bulb mode, and then use the intervalometer in sort of a way where I was setting the time interval 15 seconds and then 1 second between exposures, and letting the intervalometer control the camera in bulb mode. Then that weird beat frequency or whatever was occurring between the two timers went away. So that might be a similar phenomenon of what you're talking about.
I see.
It used to drive me crazy. It used to drive me crazy. And then the only thing I realized was that if I set it to the camera to bulb mode and use the intervalometer to control everything, that problem went away.
So you're still using the internal intervalometer?
No, the camera I was using back then did not have a built-in internal intervalometer.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah. So
I was only using an external one.
Okay.
But I was using the camera in its internal timer for determining the exposure time, rather than using it in bulb mode and letting the intervalometer control how long the shutter was open.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
That's how I do it with my Nikon. I got a D5300. So if I'm using an intervalometer, I always have it on bulb and let the intervalometer do all the settings.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I found even with the Canon. That was the most reliable. Again, it was an older camera that didn't have a built-in intervalometer. It was the 70D and the 50D. I haven't tried that experiment. To be honest, I haven't tried with my mirrorless, with my Canon, the R. I haven't tried using the internal intervalometer. I still use my external one and with the camera set to bulb mode, because I know that works, like it just works. and the intervalometer is reliable. So I actually, to be honest, I've never used the camera's built-in intervalometer.
I've used it. I haven't had any problems with it. I'm
Okay.
sure, but I really, it doesn't bother me if there's gaps. I'm not that anal about the photo. Like it is what it is. I prefer not to have gaps, but sometimes you get gaps not because of the intervalometer, but because sky conditions, something happens,
Right.
something wind does something. You never.
Yeah, that does happen sometimes. Yeah.
I think the problem is once you see the gap, you can't unsee it.
Yeah, it's true. It's like that, Bill. It's like that extra that satellite trail you didn't get rid of.
Yeah.
Once you saw that, Bill, you can't unsee it, right?
That's another pain in the backside. I mean, getting rid of satellite
Yeah,
trails.
It is. It is.
It's
It
a
is
very laborious process.
So,
I don't
so
like it.
Bill, for the satellite trails, did you just drop that frame, or you actually went in and tried to edit out the trail that crossed across the arcs? Does that make any sense?
I would think
Let
he
me
edited that.
for some reason my laptop I have bandwidth, so we kind of work. So hopefully you guys. So Alex, what I do is I go by frame. Shell. It's
You're breaking up.
Yeah, your audio is breaking up, Bill.
But Alex, I think what he had said earlier is he goes in and uses the tool in Photoshop to remove it.
As
He keeps
opposed to
the
just
frame.
dropping that frame out of the
Right.
stack.
Yeah.
Okay. Because with the
Yeah.
satellites,
frame, he
you'd be
just edits
dropping
it.
way too many frames, right? Yeah.
Everyone.
Well,
Yeah.
there you go. There you go. So cool.
I go frame by frame. I spend hours removing the stupid. I hate those satellite trails.
Right.
Just frame by frame, remove it out.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah. It is a lot of work.
That's a lot of work, and
But to me, it's like you have lines on the screen, and have a line go opposite the path of the other
Eye
line.
picks it up right away.
Yeah, it looks contrasting.
Yeah,
It just
yeah,
looks.
yeah. It detracts. Yeah.
Yep, this is really nice.
can you see
Really
this
nice
image?
with the reflection.
Is that
So this is
that Vernier?
can you, no, this is
Hood.
so this is
Hood.
Mount Hood in the background. And this is that, I don't know what it's called. It's one of those lakes there. Very easy to access. And it was a clear night, and it just worked out.
Yeah, that's really nice.
That's a great shot.
framing right there.
Yeah, the light so as I was taking these shots, like for a couple hundred, there was a car that it's like very close to a campground. You can see some lights in the distance. On either side, close to the tree line, it's actually a campground. And so behind me, there was a car that had turned its headlights on. It was just on for several minutes.
Really?
So there was a sequence within this that had to be removed because of that stray light coming and hitting that lake. When you do this sort of thing, anything and everything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Absolutely.
That's my experience.
What's the light source? What's the light source there at the base of the mountain?
Yeah, so that's so if you zoom in, I don't know if I can zoom in. So can you see this? Can you see it zoomed in? Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a
this is
series of-
that. Yeah. So what you see there, that white light, that's the I don't remember the name of that place. So you can go up until that spot before you can start climbing if you want to climb Mount Hood.
So your base camp.
Yeah, base camp. That's correct. Exactly. So that's the light coming from the base camp at night, and that's the reflection in the water.
Do they have
Um,
physical structures there?
Wow.
yes, they do. We were able to go right up there. Yeah, so people do mountain biking and so on. So yeah, you can go up there. There's a nice visitor center and so on. But the light is coming from that area.
Well, there's an
Um,
example of light pollution, especially by some folks that maybe should know better, right?
Yeah, I'm shocked that they have physical structures. It's just
Yeah,
when you
right.
go up to, yeah, when you do Rainier, uh, sorry, my network. Oh,
We can actually hear you this time.
oh, that's cool.
yeah, we can
Yeah,
hear you.
continue.
So when you do Rainier, you have a kind of a shantytown base camp, and
Right.
there's nothing. It's like, maybe there's lights now because LEDs, but it was nice. It was just, I can't imagine camping out there with lights.
Well,
Yeah.
and Rainier, where the that lodge is, that they do a good job with the lighting there at the lodge, just to keep it as low as possible.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, very nice shot.
So we're getting near the end of the time. Are there any other questions for Bill or for Karthik regarding the Star Trail stuff, or anything else anyone wants to share quickly?
Can somebody comment, give a 1 minute how to on trying to capture the Perseids meteor shower?
Hmm.
1 minute.
That's
Point, shoot.
that's in the yeah, that's in the moon though, right? That's in the moon
Yes,
phase.
it's a new moon.
No,
Yeah.
actually new moon, close to new moon.
Oh, is it new moon?
It
I
is
thought
no,
for
it
some
is a
reason
new.
I
It's a
thought.
new moon.
It's
New moon.
Oh,
exactly new moon.
oh,
I
well,
think
that's
it is
Day
new
of the
moon, right?
eclipse.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Same day of the eclipse.
What Karthik said. Just point the camera up.
Yeah, I usually for meteor stuff, I usually use a wide angle lens, point the camera
Yeah.
towards the radiant, and do like 15-second exposures, and
Right.
just let it run
Something like
sort of
that would work. Yep.
continuously.
Yep.
Yeah, I think pointing it up.
Do a
Sorry.
test exposure first, kind of what Bill was talking about, to get your settings so that
Yeah.
you're not washing out the sky, your ISO, your aperture, and let it run for roughly like 15-second exposures, 20-second exposures. And then I'm amazed though how often stuff does not show up
Right.
on meteor showers. So I think one of the things you want to do is, there's a lot of faint ones that you pick up visually, is to get your ISO, high, as high as you can without washing out the sky. I think one of the problems I had years ago shooting meteor showers was I had too low an ISO, because it was before all the noise reduction tools were available. So I was always kind of
Right.
trying to keep it low. So I would shoot it like ISO 400 or 800, and it wound up being too low to catch the dim meteors, the meteorites. So
That was a good 1 minute. Thanks, Gary.
was it a minute? I didn't time it.
Yeah. I got a quick question for the group. First of all, the Star Trail pictures were fantastic. Does anybody know or remember the name of the South Jersey dark sky site that's some sort of club, or you need to be a member to
Yeah,
access?
it's a Bella Plain
Bellplate.
State Forest.
Okay.
So it's at the Wharton. It's a little field. It's a little field near Bella Plain State Park. I think it's actually Wharton State Forest is the name of the forest, but it's near Bella Plain State Park.
Okay. And is it a private field you need to be a member of? Gated
Yeah, you do.
access?
Yeah, you need to be a member of.
Did anybody know the name of the group?
Yeah.
Because there used to be someone who contributed emails, Igor.
Yeah, I think it's
Sorry.
the
Yeah.
South Jersey Club.
He
I
was
think it's
Yeah,
talking
called
about
South
that a lot,
Jersey.
it
going
is.
out
It's the
there.
South Jersey
Yeah.
Astronomy Club, I think it
Yeah.
is.
Jeremy, I think, is a member of that club.
Okay. And has anybody been there? Is it worth looking into?
I think it is. There's so Mark Ferrari, who used
It's
to
on the
live in this
email.
area. He's contributed. You know, Mark. He
Yeah.
he he would go there regularly. There's another guy, um, uh, Macaulay, who also used to go there regularly.
Okay.
It's the South Jersey Astronomy Club, SJAC.
Good. Okay. I'll look
Beware
that
of
up.
ticks at Belle Plaine. There's a lot of ticks.
Oh, they're
So,
bad this year. They're
oh
horrible
yeah,
this
they're
year.
they're
Yeah.
they're 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 worse than I've ever seen there. So,
Right.
but a lot of small ones too. So just check afterwards.
Right. Okay. And do you recall if it was like dark enough that it was worth the trip?
They liked it. They used to go there regularly. Um, so I think so. I've seen some good pictures taken from there from those guys.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't been to Belle Plaine for the astronomy, but my grandmother used to live in South Jersey, and it gets dark out there. I mean, it's mostly just farm fields, and so at night there's barely any light. So, I mean, overall, it's definitely going to be darker than here. I mean, I don't know the
Right.
exact classification, but I mean, it's definitely going to be darker.
Okay. South Jersey Astronomy Club. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, and they're it's inexpensive. I think it's like their membership's like $20 or something like that, or some nominal fee. It's a very inexpensive club to join.
Cool.
I mean, Alex, you don't need it to be super, super dark if you're taking photographs, right? You just need it to be somewhat dark.
Yeah, I'm just looking something, between Green Lane, Hickory Run, and Cherry Springs, time-wise. And then I
Yep.
remember that they used to talk about this place in Jersey all the time. So that would be like 2 hours for me rather than 5.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Okay, thanks.
Showing it as a Bortle 5 between a 20.0 and a 20.8 SQM.
No, then I'll just stay home. Actually, I don't have 5. I guess I'm on the 6,
That's
7
really-
boundary.
That seems a little brighter than I would have thought for being in South Jersey.
Yeah, I think it might be. I seem to recall it being a little darker than that, but yeah, you're probably right. I mean, things
There's not
may
much
have
out there. I mean, literally, it's the Pine Barrens, so you get
Right.
the main road and nothing.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Probably worth a shot at least, you know.
Yeah, and he said I had talked to Dan Macaulay about it a few times. And I never wound up meeting up with him down there, he or Mark. But apparently, like I asked him, what about like staying overnight? Like, I have a camper van, so when I do astronomy, I'll usually be in the van, set up the equipment, and then crash for a while in the van. And maybe I'll take this off and record. Hold on.